Welcome to the Accelerate Campfire. I'm Lyndon Bowen, and today I'm joined by an amazing entrepreneur. I truly hope you enjoy hearing their experiences and life path. Listen in.
Sean Egan is the owner of Eganix, an environmentally friendly pest control and waste management service. He has been in the industry for over 20 years, running and scaling Eganix for 9 of those years, and he now focuses on growing and evolving the company with the changing time. Despite his lengthy experience, he continues to seek new innovations and the novelty of doing things in a new way. He employs and trusts a highly capable team who has been able to challenge him and help the company continue to grow in all of the best possible ways. He has amassed a reputation for treating his clients as valuable individuals and cultivating environmentally sustainable approaches to fit their unique needs. So, guys, please give a warm welcome to Sean Egan. Sean, we're super excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Something that really piqued my interest while we are waiting on the poll for the first question. Could you tell me a little bit more about the environmentally sustainable piece of how you deliver pest control and waste management? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's, as far as it goes with pest control, we do use a lot of natural products. We're very niche in that market where we only service a business if they have a commercial kitchen. So all other prospects are not, in our wheelhouse. We actually will just turn that business down. And then as far as it goes with the water end of things, that's where we really shine. We actually will take, the pollution or we call it effluent coming out of a business. So let's say it's a casino or an airport, a stadium, and they're cooking all that food. We got a lot of fats, oils, and greases. We have something called BOD. Phosphorus, nitrogen, all those things have to be cleaned up at a wastewater plant, and they cause a lot of problems down the pipeline. So we actually implement bacteria that we manufacture ourselves, and it reverses the pollution in the waste. So not only does it, convert everything back to its elemental form, but it also saves a ton of money on tax dollars and a huge environmental footprint.
And I'm a huge nerd for these type of things. So talk all of the science to me all day. We mentioned that you've been in this industry for over 20 years. When you came into the industry, did the scene look the same? How have you kind of innovated with using environmentally sustainable practices? I haven't heard a lot of this. I haven't heard a lot of what your company is doing out there. So,
yeah, not at all. I mean, there's still not a lot of momentum in our industry. We're really pioneers on a lot of levels, especially when it comes to the water end of things. So we do, we're constantly innovating new ways of doing things. And basically, if you look at it from a chemist side of things, where they say, well, this can't be done because of X, Y, Z, we say, right, if you're dealing with chemistry, it can't be done. But when you're dealing with nature and microbes and microbiology, we know about 1% of what there is to know in microbiology. So there's 95% that's untapped and unexplored, and we're constantly, pushing that 95% and trying to open those envelopes and learn what our capabilities truly are.
Yeah. And what does it look like getting contracts? Is it difficult to kind of pitch more traditional companies? You mentioned large chain restaurants who may be used to working with a certain type of client that has different practices than yours. Is that a difficult barrier that you've found in securing contracts with those institutions?
In the beginning, it was a little bit because nobody really knew what we did. They didn't know the science. And we didn't have a real strong reference list. Now our reference list is extremely strong. We have global giants, on that list, and so that really helps us in the private sector. And then as far as it goes, the public sector, if we're in a new market, it is a little bit difficult at times. But again, once they see our reference list, and then in public purchasing, there's what's called a sole source agreement. So if that community can only get it from one sole source, they can bypass all the purchasing regulations. So we fall into that category because we do manufacture everything that we service with.
Yeah. And could you maybe mention one of the clients that was the hardest to secure? You mentioned some of the early loopholes and hurdles that you had to jump over.
I would say the the hardest in the Michigan municipal market would be, and I know you guys are all over, but I'm here in Michigan, and so are you. So would be the city of Grand Rapids, the second largest wastewater plant in the state of Michigan, and we were able to break those walls down, but it took about 6 years.
Wow!
And we're showing then some really great results over the last year.
Wow.
And then from the private sector, I would say probably like Delta Airlines was a pretty big win.
Yeah. And what is the life cycle for these type of relationships? Are these perpetual contracts? Are these contracts expire after a set period of time? What does that turnaround look like for your business?
So we actually are much different we're very unconventional in a lot of ways, and we actually have no contracts.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a firm believer in, contracts are, if you need a contract, your service probably isn't that great to begin with, or your service is going to lack and you're going to shackle somebody back in with a contract, if they're unhappy, or if you can't solve their problem. So,
wow.
I take a lot of things that I would be irritated with in business in my personal life, and I'll implement them in my own business. So we have no contract. Our customers can cancel us at any time for any reason. We can do the same thing for them. So we do have an agreement, so to speak, that we couple with our proposals.
Right.
When we're sending out RFQs or whatnot, and it basically says, neither party is married to each other, and both parties, can fire at will.
So could you give me a little bit more of the model? Is it more of a subscription? How does the processing how does that work?
Yeah, all of our customers are repeat customers, where we're servicing them every month or more frequently. So we do have quite a, large recurring revenue base and service base. And, but again, if they're unhappy, obviously they're going to reach out and say, hey, we're having a problem with XYZ. And because we have no contract, it behooves our team internally to resolve those issues, or they're going to, or we're all going to lose the account. And everybody in our business has a little piece of it, So again, when everybody has skin in the game, everybody works a little bit harder and they work with more passion.
So are you alluding to profit sharing in terms of your employees? Is that what you mentioned in terms of everyone having a piece of it? How do you define everyone having a piece of it at Eganix?
So basically, when an account is sold, we give recurring commissions. So, if you were to work with us, all of our salespeople and even people who aren't in sales, if they just give a lead, they get a smaller cut. If they didn't go through the whole sales process, if they just bring a lead in, they get a smaller cut. And everybody has a commission seat. So you'll have your base salary, and then you'll have your commissions that continually grow. So you're basically building a company within your job, or a company within your company. You have zero overhead. As long as that company is doing business with Eganix, then you're going to get paid, a percentage off the top every month.
And, what was your we've talked a lot about the business model. We talked about the interesting way in which you guys do contracts, the interesting commission / profit sharing model that you do with your sales individuals. For Eganix, how did you come to found the company? What was the, you have all these really innovative models of doing business, of hiring and, hiring and having an amazing team. How did you even get to starting the company in the first place?
Well, so I was, it's like, I don't know, 23 years ago, I graduated high school, took a year off, didn't know what I was going to do. Ended up taking a pest control job as a technician. And it was actually with an uncle. And basically the guy who was running his business quit. And I asked him, I said, well, he was living out of state. And I said, let me run it. Can't do any worse than this guy. Give me 3 months. So ended up turning the company around, made him a ton of money. We partnered in a couple different states, opened some other pest control companies. And then I got into indoor air quality and microbiology and water. And I started opening these little companies of my own, some with him, some without him. And, lived in Vegas for a couple of years as a young man and rolled dice for about a year and a half every day. Made a lot of money on the craps table, and then I bought him out. And then I was with the Fortune 500 franchise for a while. and I had some of those water companies and air quality companies while I was doing that. And there was a lot of growth in that, being a franchisee of a 500 company. But there was also a lot of growth in how not to do business and what's broken in that corporate model and in the structure. And so that's when I sold that back, came back to Detroit in 2012 and said, I'm going to create Eganix and bring all that stuff in-house and under one roof, because it's all really turnkey and interconnected.
Yeah.
And, as far as it goes, all that stuff broken in the corporate structure, I wanted to fix that, for customers.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that informed Eganix, like changing its contract model, right? Like you saw firsthand, like these contracts with these individuals with the franchise side, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly. Well, it's like, if you're not happy with your phone carrier, but you sign a 3-year contract, right? Who likes that? And I just feel like if you enforce that contract, that customer, they might fulfill the whole contract, but once they're gone, they're probably never coming back to you.
Yeah.
If you let them out and they go, find out grass isn't greener on the other side,
I'll come back. Yeah. It was funny you mentioned that. Like, I had a horrible experience yesterday with Adobe. I went to go cancel my Adobe subscription, and they were like, "Oh, you have to pay $60 to cancel." And I'm like, I thought this was a subscription. I didn't read, obviously, so my fault for not reading the fine print. But that's important, right? Yeah, right, exactly.
We're like, yeah, we accept.
No. We're like, sure. Why not accept? Yeah. Something interesting. So, when did you decide to go 100%? Like, so you're moving back to Michigan. Like, was it immediately as you got back to Michigan you decided, okay, I'm gonna start Eganix. I'm gonna go for Eganix. Sorry, I'm gonna go for Eganix. Or was there a little bit of a lag period there for you?
No, so there was it's a great question. So I actually did not want to open a business again, because I had been in business for, 14 years at that point, and employees are the biggest pain in the ass most of the time. As from a business owner standpoint. And it's, I mean that out of no disrespect to my employees. We have great employees. We actually have a phenomenal team. But it's, I guess I was just burnt out. And so I didn't want to do that. I went on my first job interview when I was like 33 years old. And I had 3 interviews. 2 of them were very insulting offers.
That did it for you, I'm assuming.
The other one was a guy. It was for gas station TV, and it was for a sales, sales rep. And that's what I wanted. I just wanted to clock in and out, do sales, which is what I'm, great at and love. And the guy, we had a great interview, and he was like, you're like the perfect candidate, but I can't hire you. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Why not? I thought this went great. He goes, you're phenomenal. You're the dream. He goes, but you're not going to stay here. He goes, whatever happened to you and whatever reason you don't want to start a business, he goes, get over it, because you're an entrepreneur 100%.
Wow.
I want to get back out there and do what you do best. He goes, if I hired you, I'd be finding a replacement within 9 to 12 months.
Wow.
You're not here. So I was kind of like, all right, and this guy was, in his mid 60s, and I had a lot of respect from him just in that hour and a half that we talked. And came home and said to my wife, I said, yeah, I need to open a business.
It's time.
So
yeah. And Eganix really, you mentioned how it focuses on microbiology and all of these really interesting hard science applications for dealing with waste management. Was your background in hard science? Like, how did you come to start this company that has such a competitive advantage with the hard sciences, and maybe your background wasn't in such?
No, so I'm actually almost a high school dropout. My brothers and sisters, they're all very educated, masters and whatnot, master's degrees and whatnot. I'm the only one that didn't go to college. I love science. And always excelled in science and math, but my true gifts were networking, people, community, sales. And I mean, even I think it was as early as first grade, I had a candy selling business.
Wow.
So I was always hustling.
Sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was that like hiring a team that probably specializes in more of those hard sciences? Did you find it difficult to recruit and hire and retain talent? That
So,
wasn't a different. Yeah.
no, there's a guy, Jeff, I can't remember his last name, but anyway, he owned a very successful pest control company all over Southeast United States. And I listened to him speak once, and something really resonated with me where he said, I hire extremely slow and I fire extremely fast. And so I think like small business owners, which is, what Accelerate America is, that's my understanding, is there's a lot of, small business owners, entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And I think we struggle with staffing. So like me, number one, I'm not, I never went to school for HR or anything like that. So I outsource it all. I try to pretty much outsource everything, especially the stuff that I'm not good at. So, it's one of those things where if you're kind of stunted in that growth as an entrepreneur or a startup, you need to kind of look at yourself and, in my opinion, say, what am I good at? And stick to that, and then find ways to hire and delegate the rest of it out, and find the right people, put the right drivers in the right seats. You can't, I think promoting from within is difficult. It's going to, it can potentially cause issues if you're trying to put, somebody in just because, well, they've been here long enough, so they kind of deserve it. I think that's the wrong outlook and the wrong attitude to have. Give it to people that are good at what they do, and you'll catapult your business into success. There's no way around it, but you can't do it all yourself.
Right. You have to figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at. Like,
correct.
Yeah.
And I think, like for me, my days are spent, networking and big picture sales, big projects. But when I'm not doing that, I'm constantly looking at ways that I can work less. What can I do? What can I implement? That's going to make our business more efficient and take less of my time, so that I can focus on the things that I'm big at. And I also will take that and not just greedily look at me in my free time, but I look at all my people as well. Just this morning, I had a meeting with my director of operations, and we changed some things, to make his life a little bit easier. Because I said, I feel like this is kind of big brothering you a little bit. And he said, yeah. He kind of chuckled, and I said, well, let's do away with it. And he said, perfect. I'm all in. So. We don't need to be wasting our time dotting I's and crossing T's if everybody's doing what they should be doing.
This time is the most precious resource that you have as a small business owner, particularly. You don't have like 1,000 people to do a job with one person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alyssa's curious to know, what was like, so in like high school, what was the thing that you were most likely considered to be or to do?
I was voted the class clown.
Okay.
I was always a goofball, lighthearted, skateboarder, snowboarder, hockey player. Yeah. I was just the life of the party.
That's the people management side of it, right? I guess.
Still am. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still am in a lot of ways.
What's been the biggest change in yourself that you've noticed?
The biggest change is having to be flexible. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to shift gears fast in business. What's not working, and have the guts and the brains to shift those gears and do try something new, and break rules. Shatter them. Don't just bend them. I mean,
right.
I think for me, people, when they really like dig deep into our business, they're like, wow, you guys are so unconventional.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, absolutely. Because I think we're all taught these things in schools, and as we're coming up, and just society in general teaches you, your parents teach you, your friends teach you, your friends' parents, and all this, right? And it's like, customer's always right. Well, that's completely wrong. The customer's not always right. If they were always right, then they wouldn't need us. Right? They knew it all. So, we say no a lot. If it's not a good fit, don't take the business.
Mm.
Focus on, building strong foundations and not, just every little penny and dime that you can get.
Right.
Even when you're starting up, it's tempting to do that, but it will jeopardize your integrity as you grow older as a business. So I just think that, pushing yourself and being flexible.
Yeah.
And constantly desiring and engineering ways to change, to catapult you to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, I particularly love that perspective that you mentioned there. Like, if it's not a good fit, don't take the business. Yeah. I mean,
I don't still want to say we fire customers all the time, but we do it. I mean, if there's a bad fit, or you're not paying your bill, I mean, like, we'll give you better terms. Like, if you're like, oh, we need 90 days instead of 30, okay. Well, if you're still, tardy after 90, guess what? It's not the Bank of Sean. It's not we're, and I don't staff people to chase you around just to pay your bill.
Right.
So we're just going to cut you loose. And I'll tell you, 95+% of the time, those people are back within 6 months, putting American Express cards on file saying, hey, we want you back. We're sorry. Just run our credit card whenever it's time to pay. And that way we don't have it. So if you stand your ground, I think we as a small business community don't have the guts to plant our feet firmly in the ground and not let a customer push us around. But you're training the customer of what they can and cannot do, how much you'll take. Right. And so if they, push you around and you strong arm them to the ground and they're like, whoa, that didn't work. I can't push this guy around.
There's a line there. Yeah.
There's a line there. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you're training them, to your benefit, and it's going to make your job and your life much more stress-free. Which I think is huge for small business owners, right?
Right. You have to, right? You need to be able to keep going, get up the next day and keep building your business, peace of mind and work-life balance. All of that stuff is so important. And I think your mention of the drawing the boundaries and determining the type of relationships that you're going to enter for yourself and for your business is super important, right? Particularly from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what's next for you. What's next for your company, the amazing company that you built so far.
Who knows? I mean, my wife and I always sit back, I would say probably once a week, and we'll open our blinds, we're sipping coffee, looking out, to the back, or we're, at the office doing something, and we'll get that little epiphany of wow, remember when? And it's yeah. And when was too long ago. So it's and I've been on both sides of it, where when I was that franchisee, right. I mean, we were cutthroat, super competitive in the market that we played in. And it was just, doing whatever you had to do to get the business. And I probably had 10 times the amount of customers that I had now.
Mm-hmm.
But my growth, or my, my net is way less.
Your margin, yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, my margin was probably maybe 15%.
Wow.
And you're just spinning your wheels. And it's so I think, your margin should be high and have, confidence. We all have, as small business owners, have this passion inside of us, and that's why we do what we do.
Right.
Because we're passionate about it. But then when it comes time to collect, we kind of eke back.
Get a little shy, right?
No, that's when you ask for the world. You're worth it, right?
Yeah. So I have one more question for you, just for the audience, guys. Thanks for listening in. While I ask this last question of Sean, feel free to drop in your favorite takeaway from this conversation so far. Just drop that into the chat that you've been participating in so far. So Sean, I think that you touched on something super, super interesting that piqued my interest, and I just wanted to come back to it. You mentioned like breaking the rules that we kind of like set in our head and that's instilled in us in school and from our family. What would you say are like 2 or 3 rules that are important for small business owners and entrepreneurs to break?
I think breaking the thing of customers are always right. I think it's probably the number one, rule that I would say to start breaking. And then breaking the other, illusion that you can do it all yourself, because you can't. And I think, I think the other thing is another lie that we tell ourselves is, well, it's called work for a reason because it's not fun. And, or that, if you're going to be successful, like it takes hard work. Yes, it does take hard work, but it shouldn't be work. Especially the longer in the game you are, the less you should have to be working. I think like a good goal is if you start a business and you're still doing everything you were doing after 3 years in that you were doing on day one, you're doing it wrong. You really should not have. You should be working the business shouldn't be working you.
You left me with so much to think about. I feel like this is a master's class in running a business, Sean. Thank you so much. I really appreciated all of the insight and value that I think you've delivered to our community here today. So grateful to have you, Sean. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day.
If you'd like to join the Excelerate Collective and attend future campfires, visit accelerateamerica.com/join and check out our future guest at accelerateamerica.com/campfire. Take care.